Good afternoon, Chief Warrant Officer. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I think most of our audience probably knows what a Chief Warrant Officer is, but just in case someone doesn't, it's a specialized military rank with a focus on technical expertise and leadership. It's a rank that was developed by the British in the 19th century. We get a lot of our military traditions from the Brits. And the purpose was to bridge the gap between enlisted and officer ranks. They're subject matter experts. You're the SMEs. So that's from an officer's perspective. That's what I think of as a chief warrant officer or warrant officer. What's yours?
I would say you said it in the definition. It's bridging the gap. That's exactly what it is. So it's but taking that ground force level, that the E1 experience, but all the way to the senior enlisted experience, and then and in this case, a senior, one of the senior officers as well. So being able to sit at the table and where there's absence of knowledge, absence of experience, you bridge the gap. So definitely, that's definitely how I love to add value in my civilian career as well.
We got selection boards coming up for the warrant officer program. I thought we'd do a quick Q&A. I have a list of questions. You provided some as well. So we'll kick those back and forth. And, if there's interest in a follow-on, we might do a live follow-on at some point. When you were considering the warrant officer route, why? What made you interested?
I would say at the time I was a gunnery sergeant. So and during that time, there was a lot, I would say as a staff NCO, there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot within your power. There's a lot of influence that you have with Marines, just being called gunny, that's awesome, right? However, I would say for me, and it comes to the development, there's always a next level for me. There's always, okay, how do you grow? I've always been a believer in the law of the lid. So as far as I can grow, that's as far as I can grow someone else. So my next level for my growth was, okay, if I want to be able to execute the change, where can I go a little bit further to be able to create that change, right? That way I'm not just dealing with it. So how can I be a little bit more proactive? And so, understanding the supply chain and how everything flows from the top down and that concept, I would say for me, if I wanted to see a change, I had to be part of that. And so at my job was part of the, being in supply chain. And so as a Marine, that was something I definitely felt passionate about, was the continuous improvement. Like, how do I make the issues and, I'll say the situations that Marines encounter better, right? So the next level was, okay, let me be part of being the one to write those orders, being the one to collaborate, and being the one to advise. And so I would say for me, that's part of my why, why I wanted to become a warrant officer. Yeah.
What influence did your leadership, your chain of command, your peers, your fellow enlisted, how did they influence that decision for you to go for that route?
Yeah, I actually consulted with my master guns, definitely, because, you have those sit downs, the one-on-ones about, hey, what's your next step for your career? You discuss your fit reps and things like that. I bounced the idea around. And for one, you always want that confirmation of, you hope you're ready, you hope you'll be a good fit. And so with him and his, seniority and his experience, I truly value that. And so as I was seeking ways to advance myself and considering that being an option, his experience and what he has seen, he thought it would be a great fit. So for me, it was that validation and the confirmation that, hey, this is probably going to be a good route for you. And, given what he has done, I will be most likely to be able to succeed in that.
What types of enlisted Marines are the right material or are good candidates to go that route instead of just trying to, focus on climbing the enlisted ranks?
I would say, as I stepped into, what I call now, officership, I think it's a framework in how you think, and so I believe that you have to already have a glimpse of that prior to be able to step into becoming a warrant officer. And here's what I mean by that is that your mindset for when things come up, the mindset for when you're dealing with people, dealing with situations, problems, do you want to actually be part of improving that? Do you deal with ambiguity well? I think one of the common things that a lot of organizations are asking you in the interview is, how well do you deal with ambiguity? How well do you give me a time where you didn't have the means to get to the end,
Mhm.
but you had an expectation and a date, and
And you
so it's
say
being
every day
able
in the Marine
to.
Corps.
Exactly. That's every day in the Marine Corps. However, it's from a different perspective to where you're now responsible
Mm,
for it,
mhm.
versus you being a part of. I don't agree. I'm just going to do all I can. No, you're going to do all you can. Yes, but you're going to be. It's different when you're held responsible for that plan, and so that can't be scary to you. Meaning that you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to take ownership. You can't be afraid to do what it takes to see it through. That way, everyone that is touched, because you will be responsible for, in case the lives of those underneath your charge, or in partnership and collaboration with the CO. So you definitely want to not lose trust, but there has to be a grit. There has to be already a framework to where you're going to be resilient no matter what.
When you were considering the process, I guess this is kind of be a two-part question. Was there anything that you found particularly confusing or concerning, or you just didn't know, like, how do I get, like, you had a vision and a goal, I want to be a warrant officer. Was there anything confusing or concerning, or is there anything, if you go back to your enlisted self and tell you something before you started the process, uh, what would that be? Just, and this is for any Marines out there that are considering going the route you went.
Don't do it alone. I'll say this is the first thing, just because at the time I was in a unit where I was an IMA. So, how I have an HTC where I'm drilling currently right now at CLR 45, there are resources at the HTC. However, when I was IMA, it was a little bit different, and it was during the time COVID was at its peak. And so, there were, I would say, elements of the package that need to be complete, such as your medical examination, some of the reports that you needed. Whereas if you're in the SMCR, it would be a little bit easier because you're touching that I&I staff there to be able to help you and guide you along. So for me, it was, the medical facilities were not allowing me to do my medical examination. And some of the reports were through email. So I had to really, reach out to my command and network, if you will, to try to get the package complete. My senior enlisted members, they definitely helped me out as well. But I would say definitely the not doing it alone was a big deal. I'll say for sure.
For anyone out there that wants to actually pursue this, what's the first step?
The first step I would say is look at the MARADMIN. It's actually made it pretty plain and simple for the steps and what needs to be done. They actually give you a good time frame for when to have things submitted. And your senior enlisted members, they also give you kind of what we call a gunny time, drop dead time. That way you can have that window for any feedback, anything that you may want to just try to make your package a little bit more, competitive. I would say that when it comes to your recommendation letters, you definitely want to give those folks enough time to be able to help give you the proper endorsement. And I would also say for your any reports, I would say if you're trying to come in with certifications and things like that, you definitely want to give yourself time to get those reports if they aren't already handy for
Mhm.
yourself. Things like little admin tasks of the pictures. If you're part of the HTC, that hey, that's great. However, I know some of us were maybe in the IRR or part of the IMA. It's bridging the relationship sooner than later. Okay, I would say so that you can have the resources for that. But also, definitely, if you are thinking about trying to submit, you also want to be one of the top tier type of Marines, right? So you should already be doing your PME, but also from a a conditioning perspective, your PFT, you should already be, doing the first class. So you definitely want to go with your peak, condition, I would say from a physical fitness perspective, because it only gets more challenging just because of the things that you'll be enduring, which will just be a testament of what's in you.
And as far as the MARADMIN goes, we'll hang that in the link on the video. Combing through that, I think, is also a good brush with what it is to be an officer. You're going to be reading a lot of boring government documentation. You're going to have to digest it and figure out what's expected. So that would be a good indication of like, is this right for me? If you can't get through that MARADMIN and wrap your head around it, maybe it's not the right way for you to go. And as far as those letters of recommendation go, as an officer, I love it when I get asked for a letter of recommendation with a letter of recommendation. Write it for me. Give me something to work with. And then you might have ideas in there that I'm not even aware of, like, oh, I didn't even know you did that. But now it gets to be included, and you're going to get a signature so much quicker if you actually write it yourself and then hand it to me, and I tweak a few things that way. I feel like I had a part.
Absolutely. That autonomy, like just having high autonomy, high ownership, being a self-driver, those are definitely key indicators. And this process is a way to be able to test that, just to see, hey, do you even have the endurance to go through the process? Because as you just stated, there, like if you want to be part of that change, well, a lot of that's in black and white. And as we all progress through our career, we get a little bit more, I would say, less hands-on and more into the black and white, the sustainment side of things. So that's definitely a great point you made there for sure.
There's one other thing I just want to chime in on. In the 19th century, the Brits, they had this tradition. You know how like you call gunnery sergeant gunny? We have like nicknames for different ranks. Like captain, you sometimes call him skipper.
Yeah.
There was one for their warrant officers. They would call him Mister. I've been trying to bring that back. I've been successful at one unit so far. It actually caught on. It was actually at a comm company in CLR 45. It kind of it caught on a little bit, and their warrant officer got called. Hey, Mr. Lord, Mr. DeCola.
I have to do the PME for people to get that, because it's kind of like, sir, like
a little bit
kind of deal thing.
A little bit, yeah.
Awesome.
All right then. Hey, thank you for your time. This is incredibly insightful, and we'll see you soon.